Today, we're going to talk AI. Yes! What if you could have a mentor at your disposal all the time? What if it could be 24/7 and you could ask them any question? Reading a non-fiction book is close to that, but it's still a one-way conversation. In this video, I'm going to show you how I do that with ChatGPT and other tools. For example, to talk to James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, or Daniel Kahneman, the author of Thinking Fast and Slow. I've been doing that lately while reading non-fiction to get answers from questions that I have about the books, to understand it better, and to apply the contents of the book to actual things that I care about instead of the examples that they give in the book that are more generic. Let's see how I do it. I'm going to show you the tools that I use, the prompts that I use, the questions that I ask, and how you can apply this. This idea is not new. I got it from an article where Derek Sivers explains how he talks to his mentors. He writes to the mentors, trying to answer the things that the mentors are going to say to him. He does this back and forth until he realizes that he doesn't need to even send to the mentors because he already knows the answers. This was 2019 and now we have AI. What if you could do the same but getting real answers, getting real mentorship from those people that most likely you don't have access? I don't have access for sure. So let me show you how I use ChatGPT to convert like a regular chat with an AI to chat with a mentor. We start by setting the context. Act like James Clear and use the knowledge from Atomic Habits as your knowledge base. From now on, you should treat this chat as if you were talking directly to James Clear.
This is awesome, man.
I use that normally when I'm reading a book. In this case, I'm reading Atomic Habit. I want to know how the contents of the book can be applied to my daily life. For example, I'm learning about micro habits in the book, and I can ask about that concept but apply it, for example, to video creation and see what I can get. How can I start applying the concept of micro habits in YouTube video creation? And basically you get the same content from the book but applied to something that you care about, and it's like giving you an example that it's going to help you understand it better. And in this case it's pretty nice. It says start with tiny steps, commit to recording just 30 seconds of video every day. This habit can evolve into recording a roll or scripting longer segments over time. So basically it took the concept from the book that James knows about and applies it to a real life problem that you're trying to solve, which is great because you can get examples from the book, but these are not tailored to you. These are not tailored to your needs, which is good. You can imagine that, but if you can do this back and forth conversation, it's even better because then it's not a one-way conversation. You don't get the message from the author, but you can have a conversation about it. Like, for example, I can continue the conversation about like this specific part that says like commit to recording just a second, give me ideas on how to do that, and then you can expand on different sections that you would be interested on. I use that all the time. Like instead of just taking the highlights from the book, I use those highlights because these are things that are interesting to me. I'm going to use those highlights as prompts and messages to ChatGPT and then use that to create a conversation, and I get actionable data that I can use then to try things on my own and apply the concepts from the book in my daily life. Other things that you can do, for example, is combining ideas of different authors that normally you read a book about something that you're interested in and you read another book about the same topic, but the authors have different opinions on the same topic. You could combine those and say like what Ryan Holiday would think about micro habits. Then you get 2 points of view instead of one. When you're reading a book, you get only the author's point of view, but now it's like if you have like a three-way conversation with Ryan Holiday, James Clear, and yourself. And this is basically converting them to your mentors because you are asking them questions about things that you care about, and then you get the answers. I'm now reading also this book, Thinking Fast and Slow. It's a great book from Daniel Kahneman. So I've been using this method to understand better the concepts because some of the concepts of the book, like all the biases that we have, are very deep and very technical. So sometimes it's difficult to understand just from the book, and also seeing like real applications because you can understand the concepts of the book. In this case, like talks about that concept that is regression to the mean. For example, if in a sports team there's a match that they win by a big difference, regression to the mean theory says that the next one is not going to be as good, it's going to go back to the mean. And the opposite is also true. Like if you are doing a bad match, next time is going to be most likely better because you're going back to the regular results or the mean in this case. And I was reading this from this book, from Thinking Fast and Slow, and I was thinking that this was a bit demotivating because I like to read non-fiction books to improve over time. And if there's this concept of regression to the mean, does it mean that it's going to be for nothing? Because you can improve your skills, but in the end you're going to have like an average result. So I did the same here. Let me show you. Act like Daniel Kahneman, just thinking fast and slow. It's your knowledge base. Now I can ask questions like, isn't the concept of regression to the mean so asking about it, I'm asking, isn't the concept of regression to the mean demotivating for someone that constantly wants to do better? And the answer is really, really good, because it basically explains that you have extremes. That doesn't mean that those extremes are going to be always the case. It also provides you like ways to overcome that thought of like, this is demotivating. And this is really, really good. Focus on consistency, realistic expectations, celebrate improvement and just extremes, and embrace the long-term perspective. And the same that I mentioned about authors, you could do the same with different concepts. Like you could say like how this regression to the mean idea sits with compounding. This is something that I read from the other book, from Atomic Habits, that if you do positive habits, those compound over time. It's not having both authors' ideas, but just specific topics from those authors, like saying like how this regression to the mean concept sits with the concept of compounding habits. So it compares the two things and then how they work together, just looking at the result, because every time that you ask something, the result is going to be different. I asked this question in the past and now the answer is another one. It's also good to know that depends on the model that you use, is going to be a good answer or not. In this case, I'm using the free version and I already surpassed the limit of the better model. So this may be not the best answer, but it is still really good, and you get the idea. Not every time is going to be a good answer. You need to know that these things can hallucinate and give you bad answers. But it's good to help you think more about the idea that you're reading about. I consider this a great tool for learning, but you need to be careful that not all the time is going to be right. Also, it's important to know that I'm doing this with books that are older than 2024. Right now, most of the AI models information is still last year. So if you want to ask questions about a newer book, you will need to have to upload the book there to have it as a context, or basically copy pasting the highlights that you want to discuss about, because otherwise it's not going to know about this content. Another tool that we can use if we want more precise information is called NotebookLM. It's from Google and it's meant for research. The idea with NotebookLM is that it's going only to use the sources that you upload to the service, so it's not going to hallucinate with the results. For that, you will need to have the documents so you can upload to NotebookLM. I use that, for example, with research papers, because sometimes it's like 30-40 pages that explains a concept, but I want to know the TLDR version of that research paper and then ask questions about how this can be applied or specific details that I want to know about. And this is a great use case for that. Of course, you can do this with other things than books. You can do that with YouTube videos or with podcast transcripts. Let's use now YouTube as a source of truth. There is countless hours in podcast form to get the data from. Recently there was this interview from Colin Samir to Jack Conte that I found fascinating. I watched it twice, but I wanted to digest the most important lessons. To use that, I used NotebookLM, as I found it's one of the best tools to get accurate data from the YouTube transcripts. YouTube is only one of the types that you can add to the NotebookLM data sources. You can add PDFs, Google Docs, plain text, And you can add up to 50 different sources for each notebook, which is awesome. This is because the model behind NotebookLM is Gemini, the model from Google. And this is one of the models that have like a bigger context window, which it means that you can add more context to every conversation that you want to have every time that you start a new chat. Let's take these two conversations from Jack Conte and start a new notebook. First, I create a new notebook and I use this YouTube link as one of the sources. This is the first source that I'm adding. Automatically it's going to take the title of the video as the name of the notebook, but I'm going to take lessons from Jack Conte because I'm going to add more sources here. It already summarized the video, it was an interview, and now I can add the other one. Now I can add the other one, that is this one. Add source, paste YouTube video. So now this is 3 hours of interview already digested in a couple of seconds. This is the chat interface, and then you can create notes specifically for, I don't know, FAQ, timeline, briefing docs, study guide. But what I like the most is asking questions like, what can Jack Conte teach us about creativity? And you get this response from both sources. Basically, it's a superpower search on those videos, but you don't need to specifically know which words they use. It could be related, it could be using similar words that mean the same thing. Say, for example, the importance of service and audience and have an impact, distinction between artists and creators is interesting. Conte distinguishes between artists who create primarily for themselves and creators who focus on serving an audience and are more analytical, adjusting their strategies based on the response. And you can see this number 3 means that this is the source where you get it. So if you want to learn more about one specific topic, you can either ask about this one and get deeper content about it, or you can go to the source and see what this was discussed. Like, for example, the changing of the landscape of internet, the necessity of continuous growth and adaptation. So you could read the transcript of the part that he mentions that, even go to the video and watch that part again. And if you find it interesting, for example, these points looks really interesting, you can save it to note, because those chats are not persistent. If you close this window and you go back to NotebookLM, you're going to lose that chat. So if you want to save some responses, you can create notes, and now you have it here again. So you cannot interact anymore with that, but this is a note that you could have saved for later. So that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments below if you use ChatGPT or AI tools with that specific use case. And if you use it, you can share the prompts that you use for that. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.